A lot of labels like to put out special editions of films. These special editions could range from acknowledged classics to films you may never heard of. Case in point, here's a special edition of Night Tide. Now you might be thinking, Night Tide? What is that? Never heard of it. That's kind of the point. They're looking for films that might have slipped under the radar a little bit, but are worth your attention. This is definitely a good choice. Night Tide with Dennis Hopper. They might use classic films for a special edition, such as The Apartment with Jack Lemmon, directed by Billy Wilder. They might use a genre classic for a special edition, such as this giallo classic, The Bird with the Crystal Plumage. Or they might get a director that people really love and showcase one of that director's films. In this case, the director is Sam Peckinpah, and this is the film Major Dundee. And interestingly, this is, in my opinion, not a very good film, and I like his films. So sometimes they just put stuff out there because people want to see what this director was up to. This has a couple of different versions. In fact, what are on these special editions? Well, let me give you an example of one of them so you can see what I'm talking about. This is a special edition of An American Werewolf in London. And by the way, a lot of the ones I'm showing you, they only make a certain number of copies, so people grab them while they can. Like, I don't think you can get this one anymore. So in a special edition of this, and this is an acknowledged horror classic directed by John Landis, you get a nice hard box, right? Well, there's some artwork on the back there. And you get a nice booklet, not just a little 10-page thing, but maybe a 60-page perfect bound booklet in color. You might get a poster, which I don't do much with. And then you get the disc, of course. Sometimes it's 2 discs if there's 2 different cuts, like an extended cut or a director's cut or a theatrical cut. Sometimes they give you some lobby cards inside of it. And sometimes they give you reversible artwork if you want to switch the artwork around. And then on the disc itself, besides the film, you will get various features, such as maybe a documentary about the making of the film, or you might get an interview with the director or interviews with the cast and crew. This is a werewolf film, so you might get a documentary about the werewolves' history in cinema. It varies. And I don't know anything about really the rights to certain films and how certain films get the deluxe treatment and other films don't. But one thing I do know is once in a while I come across a film, new or old, that I think that should get a deluxe treatment. And that's the topic for today. This is the Kazdoy Closet. I'm Kazdoy. This is my closet full of all the stuff that I love. And today I want to talk about a film that I think is ripe for rediscovery and that should get the deluxe treatment. Let's check it out. So here's the film I think deserves some special edition or deluxe treatment, and it's Catch-22. It's from 1970. It's about 2 hours long. It's in color. Why do I think this deserves the deluxe treatment? Well, first of all, the basics. It was directed by Mike Nichols, who directed The Graduate right before this film, and many other great films and Broadway plays. It is based on a famous anti-war novel by Joseph Heller, which I read many, many years ago. The screenplay is by Buck Henry, who did so much great work. He co-created Get Smart, the TV show, with Mel Brooks. He wrote the screenplay for The Graduate. He wrote the screenplay for To Die For and for What's Up, Doc, among many others. The cast is unbelievable, and I had to write it down here just so I didn't forget anybody. Here's the cast. The lead character is played by Alan Arkin. You also have Martin Balsam, Richard Benjamin and his wife, Paula Prentice, Art Garfunkel. I think this is his first film. Jack Gilford, if you don't know who he is, if you remember those old Cracker Jack commercials, he was the guy in those. He was also in Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Forum. Buck Henry is in this also. Bob Newhart is in this. He has this great, hilarious scene with Norman Fell playing his assistant. Anthony Perkins is really good in this. He plays the chaplain. Martin Sheen has a part. Charles Grodin is very good. He has a part. Jon Voight and Orson Welles playing the general. Now, with such a large cast, of course, they're not all going to be on screen for any great length of time, except for Alan Arkin. They might only have 1 or 2 scenes. They might have some scenes together. They might not. So I don't even know if they even knew who else was working on this film at the time. But that's part of what could be in the special edition, right? Now, there's got to be a lot of stories about the making of this film. And I just recently read a couple of Mike Nichols biographies. I don't remember too many stories about Catch-22, maybe because Mike Nichols made so many other films. But I think that could be one part of these special features. So if they did do a special edition of this, I would like to see those Mike Nichols biographers being interviewed and talking about Catch-22. Or maybe how about a feature about Mike Nichols himself, or a feature about Buck Henry. I don't think I've ever seen a feature about Buck Henry or even read a book about him or seen one about him. Or maybe a feature about Joseph Heller, who wrote the novel. And maybe some cast interviews, some retrospective interviews with the remaining, the cast, those are still alive, of course, talking about their experiences in the film. I think that'd be really interesting. So aside from all those details, what's so special about this film? Well, it's all about the absurdity of war. And it's has a very unusual plot structure where it rewards repeated viewings. It kind of starts with the ending almost, and then goes back and forth, shifts around in time. And it's very interesting and really gets your attention. It's also about war profiteering, so it's definitely an anti-war film. And then it also has some great comic performances by these people that really bring their best out in a lot of these scenes. And then overall, it's got this sense of dark humor. It's not a perfect film. The portrayal of women in the film is not that great. And it's kind of uneven as far as the tone goes. It's very comic for the most part. The last act is a little darker. But given all those things, I still think it holds up really well. I would give it 4, maybe 4.5 American flags for this film. What's on this disc? This is a really old disc. I think it's almost 20 years old. It's a DVD. You can't even buy this on Blu-ray. It's not even available. But there's not much on here. There is a commentary between Mike Nichols and the director Steven Soderbergh, so they could put that commentary on a deluxe special edition as well. There is also a series on Hulu based on Catch-22. I haven't seen it, but might be worth checking out. So where can you see Catch-22? Well, you can rent it. You can buy it. I've seen this particular edition for like $8 online. You can buy a brand new one for about $13.99, I think, a newer edition than this. And of course, I think your public library is always going to have it. So that's my vote for one film among many, I'm sure, that could deserve a special edition. Maybe you have some ideas of your own. Feel free to leave a comment or suggestion down here. Feel free to leave a thumbs up. Don't leave a thumbs down. Subscribe would be great. Share this with your friends and neighbors. Otherwise, hope you like this one. Thanks a lot for watching, and I will see you next time.